Welcome to Car Pervert, I'm Johnny Smith. Today I am at Project Heaven, and that's because I'm going to see my little Honda S600 coupe, a car which I've had for several years now and should have finished it a long time ago really, but things escalate. But I'm going to see it running and driving properly for the first time today. I'm hopefully going to take it out for a drive, and it's in that building just here, having its final rolling road session to be set up properly. So Project Heaven have had my Honda for quite some time, really going through it and ironing out any unfinished bits, because I bought the car really as a sort of unfinished project. The person had passed away who started the project originally, then I bought it off somebody that had imported it from South Africa. But it's finally running with a rebuilt axle and rebuilt braking system and suspension system and all manner of other parts which have taken me months and years to find, and trust me, it's been a very, very difficult car to get parts for. Probably the hardest I've ever had. And I've had some fairly rare cars, but it'd be great to see it today. In the meantime, look, there's a couple of interesting projects and donors in the back field of Project Heaven. Always a cool place to come to. Look, it's a trio of dead Subaru pickups. And a beautiful Ford Country Squire big block, I think that is. Very nice. So here it is, the little Honda. Pretty much finished now and on the rollers. Pete, where are you? Pete, where are you?
Hello. Hello Johnny, how are you?
Hey Pete, how's things? All right?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Been rolling around in your car up today.
How is it? How does it sound? How does it feel?
Sounds brilliant, sounds brilliant. We've had to do quite a lot of work on the carburetors. The needles weren't quite right. So we've had to take the original needles and machine little grooves in them so that we can raise and lower the needle heights to get the fuel mixtures just right.
Because these are supposed to be quite temperamental cars to set up. That's always been the rumour. Yeah,
well, they're like a highly strung bike engine really, aren't they? So it's a bit akin to that. So I've put lambda sensors in the exhaust system so that we can actually tune these two and these two separately, or at least look at the tuning of these two and these two, because the exhaust, the centre two goes to one exhaust pipe and the outer two go to another. There's an oxygen sensor in each pipe.
So that makes it a lot easier to set it up on the road?
Yeah, to check it's running correctly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pretty good.
I actually haven't heard it running with a proper fuel pump or anything.
Oh right, okay.
I heard it running at the beginning of the year, was it? I'm trying to think now, where you got it running on like a
drip,
on a castomy bag.
Yeah.
And then that for about 30 seconds, and that's all I've ever heard.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's obviously got the new radiator in.
Yeah, we've got the fuel pump in there. We've got the radiators in. We've done all the carbs together properly, and they've all been properly rebuilt. We've replaced the HT lead plug caps because one of those actually fallen to pieces, and the exhaust system's all on because that wasn't on.
Of course, I had to commission a new exhaust system to be made. Yeah.
So shall I start that then?
Yeah. Let me go on the back and we start it up.
Okay. I'll do a power up, shall I?
Yeah. Is it warm? Is it warmed up?
Yeah. I was just doing it before you came.
Don't let me stop you.
Oh, sorry?
Don't let me stop you.
Right. yeah.
That's smooth, Pete.
Yep.
That's really smooth.
So we took that all up to 9,000 RPM.
That was up to 9 then?
Yeah.
I was going to say it just keeps climbing and
I know,
climbing
I
and
was
climbing
like,
and climbing.
oh, how much further? But yeah, 9,000.
I'll see if I can get that screen on camera. It's a surprisingly sunny day today.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to see, but
maybe you can give me a printout.
yeah, I'll give you a printout. But basically, this is your horsepower here.
What was it? I think when they were new, it was 57 horsepower.
Okay.
I think it was something.
Well,
like
we've got 34 at the wheels.
35, so it would have been
Yeah.
57 at the crank.
Yeah, so we've got to do some calculations and figure out what that would actually be. It'd be probably similar, maybe about 50 horsepower, at the flywheel, yeah.
And that's probably peak delivered at what RPM?
I can tell you exactly.
Mind you,
here we are.
on the Maserati,
Yeah.
obviously.
7,000 RPM
Is peak.
is peak horsepower.
So wow, it's a torqueless monster.
Yeah, and peak torque was about 4,000.
Okay.
And then maximum speed went to 91 miles an hour, and engine RPM 9,000.
Yeah, so there you go. So it was like a 90-something mile an hour car. So it was just under a 100 mile an hour car when it came out.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good for a 600cc motor.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's amazing, really.
I know. We took it for a quick test drive on the road earlier, and it drove pretty well. So
Did
I'm
it?
really pleased with it, yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's the moment of truth, isn't it? So I know the last time I came here, you were experiencing minor hell with the rear axle.
Oh yeah. That's all sorted now though. The axle's all together, and there's no issues there at all. It's absolutely perfect. But because it's quite a complicated piece, that axle.
Complicated is a polite way of
Yeah. A bit of pain,
a
yeah.
polite way of saying it. I'll get some shots of it underneath later, but yeah, I'll get some shots of the exhaust as well, because that's
quite a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
All stainless.
It's looking good on it. It's Dunlop period looking tyres as well, actually. It's nice to see those. Look, see those? The SPs. Yeah. Couldn't resist just getting it on the ramps for a second, because underneath here there's some cool stuff going on. Come underneath. Now, first things first, it's been a while since I've been under here. The Honda S series were separate body and chassis, so although they were really modern for their time, they still had quite a traditional build layout. So here's the separate chassis, but look at the shiny thing. The exhaust system was really specific on the Honda S600. There's like one company seemingly that does a repro system. Look at the exhaust manifold here. It's absolutely gorgeous. 4 into 1, 4 into, 1, 2, and then into 2 tailpipes. Come back here. Come on, have a look, don't be afraid. That was an expensive exhaust, but very specific again to the engine tune. Basically, it's like a sort of weird detuned kind of micro Formula 1 engine in this thing. But if you come to the back, come around here, this is the other part of the build, which was way more comprehensive than we realised. And Pete, bless him, has spent hours on it. And it's up here. It's the rear axle. And this is such an odd axle. Really not seen a design like this on another car. Certainly Project Heaven had not seen a design so bizarre. So you've got a prop shaft from the gearbox to the differential, which is conventional. But then it goes out to these very strange chain drive sprockets. And then it goes to another set of sprockets with these kind of, I guess, the independent swing arms with the shocks back here on the back of these. So these are all aluminium castings. It's all aluminium, deeply complex, very, very hard to get parts for. But look at it, isn't it beautiful? This exhaust, by the way, is made, there's a little tag on here, it's made by Quicksilver Exhausts. And I need to say thank you for them being able to construct this exhaust, because it's a made-to-order part during lockdown. And you can also see how rot-free it is under here. Being a South African import, one of the reasons why I chose this car, right-hand drive, but really, really rot-free. The S600 never went into production and was sold in the UK. It was the first S-Series car sold in Europe, but it wasn't sold in the UK. Looks lovely out in the sun, you know. Please forgive the cleanliness of the inside of it. It's dusty. I do need to detail this little Honda, but I thought I'd give you a look at the instrument panel because I think it's gorgeous. I think honestly it looks like a little E-Type. It's beautiful. So you got your handbrake. Don't know if you can see that. Your handbrake's buried deep down here. And then the gear shifter is hilarious. It's so short. It's so short. And then down here is the optional, was the blanking panel for where the optional radio is. And then you've got your ashtray and your cig lighter. Then above that here, you've got your headlights, your dimmer, your wiper, your choke. Got temperature in Fahrenheit, you've got your fuel and then your amps. But this is by far the most important gauge. Incredible. And then just settles down to a really polite idle. There's the ignition. Do you know what I like? I'm trying to see if I can. Look at this. That's gorgeous, isn't it? I am going to probably leave this window down. It's a snug fit in here for me. Something I hadn't quite realised when I bought the car. So, start up. Hear the little electric fuel pump. The starter motor's silent. It's amazing. The gear stick's that tall. Okay. Got my trade plates on. Hello, Honda S600. Whoa. The throttle, excuse my driving style, the throttle is so small and light. So this is like, they did say you run out of gears very early on because it's only a 4-speed like so many cars of that era, but it's the fact that that rev counter can go all the way around to like 10, which just feels so unusual. Wow, steering's really odd. It feels like the front is way more wayward than the back. You've got this strange axle, remember, at the back. This very, very odd axle setup. My right knee is wedged right underneath the dash because it's not really made for people like me. The sound. This village, I believe, is where Rowan Atkinson lived. Comedian Mr Bean and enthusiastic McLaren F1 crasher. I believe he lived around here for years. I knew he knew about that because the night he crashed his McLaren F1, I was at a friend's house, quite near us. It crashed fairly near to where I was. You see, you've got your big wood rim steering wheel, just like so many sports cars of that era. The gear shift is so tight. It's amazing, really. I was not expecting that. It's so eager. But I've got to remember, I've got little skinny drum brakes all round because the 600 had drums, the 800 eventually got discs. It feels amazing, I have to say. I'm always a bit nervous when you first take a car out that hasn't been driven in years. This car has never driven on the road in the UK. It's from South Africa originally, and the guy that I bought it off never got it on the road when he imported it. Got my rear view mirror right down here. I can't actually adjust it high enough for me, so I've got to sort of squat down in these lovely squishy little bucket seats. You are sat so close to the floor pan. No belts. The throttle response though, even when you're doing 40 miles an hour, is amazing because you've got 4 carbs. 1 carb per cylinder, which is, for an engine of this size, it's never really heard of. So in third at 30, you're doing kind of 3,700 RPM. It sounds like I'm driving really fast when I'm not. Trust me, I'm not. Look, I'm doing 25. And you feel so small compared to these Land Rovers and other modern cars on the road because it is so tiny but complete. You know, rear wheel drive, 4-cylinder, 4 carb. It does at this low RPM. I think it really sounds like a little sports bike engine because that's what it really is. What a wonderful little thing. There's a bus coming. Don't mess with a bus in a little Honda from the 60s. Crumbs, look at the size of that thing. The gear shift is so nice. So nice. It feels like an MX-5. So 4th gear, 50 miles an hour, you're doing 5,000 RPM. 5,000. And that back axle is sort of it's got chains on it to make it independent. Very complicated. Really not a lot to compare it to, I don't think. It's so unusual, and Honda ultimately went to a swing axle setup for the 800 because it was, I guess, too complicated and probably too expensive. You hear the induction noise. No back seats, so it's just a 2-seater with quite a lot of storage space in that little hatch. Got a rear view mirror here, wing mirrors on the actual wings, which looks so good. Love those. It's on its little, I got period tyres on the car from Vintage Tyres in Bewley. They got some Dunlop SPs, which were the original optional tyres, so modern rubber but traditional style. There's a new Land Rover Defender. That looks so big compared to this. It's surprisingly, the seat is really surprisingly comfortable. My right knee's in quite a lot of pain because I can't quite put it anywhere, I'm too tall. But the rest of it, my headroom's not bad. I mean, luckily I ain't got any hair anymore, so I'm just brushing on the headlining. When I got the car, we established the interior was pretty good and original, so haven't done anything. We need to clean it up. It does need a final valet and a detail, really. So it bogs a little bit and then wham. You get all that sound, all that exhaust and induction, and you're still only doing 40 miles an hour. Maybe this is the sports car of the future. Small power, massive enthusiasm. You know, it's the way it should be. So you have to lift the gear stick up to go into reverse. I've not needed reverse yet, so. It sort of sounds like I'm being angry with the car all the time. Despite the fact I'm not, I'm just trying to keep it happy in the rev range, because low down it has no torque at all. 5,000 RPM in third at about 35. Listen. Fantastic little thing. I absolutely love the dashboard. I think this Honda wood rim steering wheel, completely flat, it's really wonderful. Quite delicate. That really high trans tunnel. Down there would have been a radio, an optional radio. There's a cover plate which I need to stick on. And then your rear view mirror there. Passenger sun visor was an option. How good is this on a day like this? This is exactly the kind of car which, if you want classic raw enjoyment and the sound, but you're not actually using much fuel, you're not really going very fast, but you're engaged. You're properly engaged. I haven't even gone beyond about 6,500 RPM. It'll do 10. It'll do 10. It's ridiculous, isn't it, really? Lots of MX-5s out today because of this weather. Now, obviously, they made a roadster version of these S cars, and the roadster version sold much better. It was more successful, more commonly seen today. But I always prefer a coupe. It helps that I can just about fit in it. Not sure about a long journey. I keep touching the throttle. I perhaps need to drive it with some little tootsie moccasins. Okay, coming out of the village, 4,000. (9,000 RPM). Third gear, 7,000. Wow, it takes a totally different kind of thinking to drive compared to the sort of old cars I'm used to. I'm used to having some torque, and there's none, it's just all RPM. Just keep putting RPM in, keep your foot down. The throttle's actually quite a shallow throttle as well, so you get that throttle response immediately. This is superb. Little buried gear stick. The car is not 100% finished, but it's near as damn it now. You can probably see it's missing a Honda badge there. I've got to get one more. There's lots of repros available, but I've been trying to get as much original stuff as I can, which is, you know, a rod for my own back, basically. But you can see and hear I've driven it now. The engine's pretty much sorted. I got the most correct fuel pump that I possibly could. Brakes are all done. Everything works in terms of MOT ability, despite the fact it doesn't need an MOT. I've got my new Dunlop tyres on there, which are fantastic. All the trim is complete. There's a couple of little areas which I could do with clean. Basically, it needs a detail. It needs a proper detail. It's still got, you know, some workshop dust and a few bits of grease and grime on it, but that really, in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. Might be able to see it's got this beautiful stainless steel exhaust under there. It's too nice to hide away. That's on there. I've got to put a couple of pieces of carpet back into it, which have be at my place from where it was repainted. The repaint was done by Walter at Retro Classica. They've done a very nice job. Honda Scarlet Red, I believe it's called. There's like 3 different types of Honda Red, which I didn't realise. But yeah, I mean, look how small it is, but look how beautifully proportioned it is. I really do think it's a gorgeous looking car, and a lesser known car, really. And on an evening like this, it just looks so vivid. So many people don't know what it is, have no idea what this thing is. I hope you've really enjoyed this episode of Car Pervert with this lovely, charming little Honda. It's been so long since buying this car to getting it on the road. It's my own fault. I totally underestimated how hard it was to find the parts for them and my work situation, but driving it today felt amazing. This engine is just something else. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit subscribe, and you'll get a combination of automotive treats like EVs and classics and modified stuff and a few road trips and a bit of Urban X. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.